Microphones help. Hey, welcome everyone. This is a packed house. I'm not used to this. Welcome to the West Lafayette Community School Court Board of School Trustees May regular meeting. The first item on our agenda is Courtney Fitzsimmons, who's going to share with us about the food and nutrition services at the high school and the whole corporation. So take it away.
Thank you. All right, so I'm Courtney Fitzsimmons, Food Service Director and Dietitian, and I'm going to give a brief update about the Food Service Department. First, I'd like to show some pictures of our food. This is the Red Devil Dining Court, and it's featuring our pasta bar, our fresh station, and new this year, our ramen bowl. And then in the left corner is a picture of fruit and vegetable offerings one of the days at the elementary school. Is my clicker this way? There, perfect. Okay. For the past 8 years, we have been part of K-12's leading Indiana co-op, also known as CLIC. It represents over 207,000 students in Indiana in over 80 school districts. The co-op helps increase our purchasing power because 80 schools can get a much better price than we could alone. The co-op procures the majority of our items on our behalf with input from all stakeholders. And this is the list of vendors that have won CLIC's bids and that I'm recommending we purchase from for the 26-27 school year. All right, as a reminder, we are a self-sufficient department, which means we cover our costs from the money we bring in from sales. It's important that we maintain that self-sufficient, not-for-profit status. Last year, we lost $150,000 due to multiple factors, the biggest one being the discontinuation of our supply chain assistance funds. We also lost some entitlement dollars for the upcoming year. So in anticipation of that, we increased lunch prices, which seems to have helped offset some of those costs that we had lost. I won't know exactly how the year shakes out financially until the summer, but I have a pretty positive outlook. And our main focus will continue to be on ways to increase revenue and participation while decreasing expenditures. This table shows the breakdown of revenue from our two sources, which are what students pay in blue and the USDA reimbursement in green. Our corporation is around 23% free and reduced. This breaks down to about $4.27 per lunch. A good rule of thumb is to plan 40 to 45% of your revenue on the food costs and 40 to 45% on labor costs, leaving the rest for overhead, which includes equipment, repairs, small wares, trainings, etc. That leaves us with about $1.92 per lunch, and we have to include whole grains, proteins, fruits, vegetables, and milk in that cost. On Friday, May 1st, we celebrated School Lunch Superhero Day with a red carpet movie star theme. These are the stars behind the trays at the junior, senior high school, and I just have to say this staff is absolutely top-notch. This is a very fast-paced kitchen where everyone works together to serve between 600 and 700 lunches per day from over 15 different entree options. As a side note, you may have heard that we lost Ivan Belitsky as he transitioned into a different school nutrition position at GFS. Although we were sad to lose him, we're very happy for him. Crystal Gooden, was the former Willis Kitchen manager, and she's in the front left is our new manager at the junior senior high school. Here's our wonderful staff at the intermediate school. They've had quite a few changes within the last few months, but they continue to be a well-oiled machine. Lindsay Connor, she's in the green, became the new kitchen manager, and Vanessa Gooden, she's in the silver, left the elementary school to cook for the intermediate students. Finally, this is our lovely elementary school kitchen staff. You can see them, they're autographing their poster down there in the bottom right corner. They are a small but mighty powerhouse. Courtney Foster, she's the one in the center, is our kitchen manager. New this year, we created the WLCSC Food and Nutrition Services Facebook page. If you're not already following us, please do. We like to share updates, pictures, and highlight employees. Also new this year at the elementary school is Tom the Taste Bud Traveler. He visits once a month with an exciting fruit or vegetable for the students to try as part of the reimbursable lunch. It doesn't cost more to try it. You can see here some of the different items we've tried and what the students think about them. We always try to get some quotes of what they think. Yeah. They don't always love them, but we're always proud of them for trying new things. This year, we also partnered with multiple local farmers to provide fresh produce to our students. On August 29th, we participated in Indiana Food Day, which featured sweet corn, and we purchased ours from Prairie View Farms. A third grade class and a facts class and the department shucked over 1,700 ears of corn. And then October 16th, we participated in Indiana Apple Crunch Day by purchasing Somerset and Pixie Crunch apples from Weaw Creek Orchard. And then this January, we started purchasing hydroponic leaf lettuce from Purdy Farms for our fresh station in the Red Devil Dining Court. And then finally, here is a picture of our intermediate students celebrating Random Acts of Kindness Day, which we celebrated on February 16th. Thank you for your time, and here's my contact information if you need anything. Any questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the local providers that you got the lettuce and the corn from, do we have separate contracts with them outside of the consortium?
Yes. So we can, based on a certain threshold, we can do what's called micro purchases. So since we purchase a little bit each time, we have the flexibility to do that with anything local.
Also, I'm just curious, the pictures of all the staff, did you all have an event or is this AI?
It's AI.
I thought you dressed like that every day.
I mean,
It's possible.
Last year they were superheroes, right?
They're
last year they were superheroes, and I liked this theme because our staff doesn't typically get to feel very glamorous. It's not the most glamorous feeding kids every day. I mean, we love feeding kids, so it was fun to kind of have them dressed up and do something a little bit different.
Super fun. Anybody else? Lawrence?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Look at the cost breakdowns. Basically, say we have 45% for, food materials, food, and labor is 45%. So we end up with 10%, say 43 cents per meal, kind of for the overhead equipment, the repair, and the trainings, that all kind of things. So I'm just wondering, given current situation, the inflation, not only for the laborers, also for material, everything going up. So from your point of view, so in next 2-3 years, I understand that we are kind of self-suspending kind of department, but what's your outlook in next 2-3 years? We can still maintain the self-suspending.
We do have prices already for next year, and they look really good. They're
Okay.
honestly not much higher than this year, so that's a positive. Being in that co-op really helps us to keep that best pricing. And then with labor, we're still looking at a couple places where maybe we can be a little bit more efficient. When we replaced Ivan, we replaced him with a kitchen manager instead of an assistant director. So all those things, we're always kind of looking at the ways to continue to be self-sustaining.
Okay, thank you. Another question, basically, my understanding, the funding is a lot of fundings big chunk of the funding from the government entitlement things. And you talk about the brown box or something?
Oh, yes.
And my understanding, the entitlement, I mean, the funding will be increased in next 1-2 years. That's your expectations. So how realistic that can be realized? I mean,
Yeah, it was exciting to see that increase so much. And then when I went to, in March, you have to do a survey where you say where you're gonna put that money. It didn't go as far as I wanted it to, I think because of some of the cost increases. So those costs are separate than our other costs that we get through Click. So it didn't go quite as far, but yeah, we're able to use Brown Box again where we couldn't this past year. So we can get things like 40 pounds of ground beef that we use for our taco meat, spaghetti sauce, and things like that. We're able to get that Brown Box next year, which will be a big help.
okay, so the brown box is kind of a federal government
Yep.
program, kind of,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, that's all. Really appreciate you guys did, heroes, did excellent work. Thank you, appreciate it.
Anything else? Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And just as a general announcement, not directed if anyone has anything they need to leave for at any time, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. Both doors work on both sides. So the next item is communication from the audience. And I saw that Howell Lee was signed up for the first slot. So please join us. You get 3 minutes. And if someone could hand me the sign-up sheet, I'd appreciate it. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Okay.
That's announce my name.
No, you don't, but I will let you know ahead of time that we don't usually respond back, so don't expect an answer if it ends with a question. Okay,
Community school board members and trustees. So I'm a parent of a child in the West Side school system. So thank you, and I am very grateful for all of your work in the community and supporting our families and our children. So I do want to bring up a topic in regard to technology use by our children for your consideration. I fear school-based Chromebooks have quickly become a substitute for distractions and engagement with non-instructional online content. In fact, I've seen this with my own child who has access to educational and non-educational web resources. Through elementary school issued life, the internet offers an escape from a lesson that and is easy to be scooped by using Windows and tabs, right? Additionally, recent news media such as from the New York Times have talked about this topic. So children spend time emailing friends or sending messages through Google Docs when they should have been listening to their teacher. And occasionally, this leads to bullying behavior. Whenever students have access to connected devices, it requires enormous amounts of teacher's energy and little vigilance to keep class on task. Perhaps many of them have simply did well, but maybe there's another way, a better way. Several states are considering laws to reduce the amount of time screens are used in schools, even for education purposes. For example, a proposed law from Kansas uses a tiered approach to increase screen access proportionally to the grade level. It also requires standardized tests to be administered by paper and pencil. I know that's kind of hard in the end, but which we suspect might boost scores, right, from research. So it further allows parents to opt their children out of using one-to-one devices in school without retaliation discrimination. So another law from Vermont, looks at the educational program of software used by public schools. The bill proposes to require providers of educational technology products, those providers to register every year with the state and to be accepted by the state, and tech companies must demonstrate that their products offer academic advantages over non-technical methods. And the product cannot use target advertising or compulsive use features, among other restrictions. So both of these laws will help children and peers immediately and immensely. As a concerned parent, I urge you to please consider cutting back or completely eliminating the use of Chromebooks to strengthen the academics of West Side students and allow teachers to focus their energy on teaching. Thank you.
thank you very much. Appreciate your comments, and we always like when people email us to follow up so that we know how to get in touch with you. So the website has our email address. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I'd love a motion. Thank you, Rachel. Oh, go ahead, you have to say the words.
I make a motion to vote on the consent agenda for tonight.
Okay, and Lauren seconds.
I can
Thank
second
you.
that.
All right.
I'd like to ask to remove the minutes. from
Remove the
consent
minutes,
agenda,
okay.
please.
Can do. We'll put those at the end. All right, on the remaining consent agenda, one moment while I start the vote. Here we go. This is to approve the remaining consent agenda without the minutes. And that passes 7-0. All right, 1 second. Mrs. Mumford, since you removed the minutes, I'll let you begin.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the addition on page 4, the second item on the roofing, and add the phrase "due to irregularities identified in the process."
Okay, is there a second? David? Okay. Due to irregularities. What was that? Due to irregularities
Identified in the
identified.
process.
Thank you. I couldn't come up with the verbs. Is there any discussion? Okay. I will begin again. This is to amend the minutes.
We vote for the amendment or? we vote
Yeah,
for-
we're voting to approve the minutes with the amendment. Okay. One more. That passes 4-3. Thank you. The next item we have is the referendum planning. Dr. Reiner.
Thank you, Mrs. Austin. Mr. Reuter is joining us this evening. He's in the front row, standing now. Discuss the referendum planning in response to the Indiana Senate Enroll Act 1 to include potential tax rate considerations needed to maintain consistent revenue and account for future cost of living increases. We will also address questions from the board when he finishes his presentation. Before he presents, though, I would like to ask or recognize members of the sounding board group that are with us this evening, and kind of facilitated by our PR team. Dave Berry's in the audience too. You want to wave? Thanks. He's part of our PR team. And several members are here this evening. We're not going to introduce them by name tonight, but if they wouldn't mind waiting, just to, so the board sees that we got them. Yeah, thank you. We just want to recognize you and say thank you for your guidance and support throughout this process, and your input will be invaluable to us. At this time, I would also like to tell you that Mr. Berry will be sending out information regarding links to the online meetings, the virtual meetings, and he'll be sending out agenda topics that will be discussed. This time, Mr. Reuter, if you would please share your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Greiner, and good evening, school board. This is really a follow-up conversation to what we've been discussing really starting last fall when we were talking about the budget and what might be coming down the road. Of course, this is not the first time you've had a referendum conversation. It actually started way back in 2010 when the district first ran their referendum. Actually ran the referendum for, I believe, for 43 cents at the time. But you never ever collected the 43 cents. You actually collected the 37 cents year over year after that. And there had been enough assessed valuation growth that you never had to raise that rate. But today we're actually talking about what might happen between now and 2031 with the impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1, which was passed last session. And it was a very active session, probably one of the most difficult legislative sessions I experienced because things were moving so rapidly, and it was difficult to follow all the different scenarios. But I'm going to start with the why. I believe I can advance this. I'm going to start with the why. Senate Enrolled Act 1 really had a substantial impact on the assessed valuation forecast between now and 2031. In response to what they felt the need for property tax reform in 2023 and 2024, there were substantial increases in the assessed valuation on homeowners, and districts were seeing substantial increases in their net AV as well as their AV with including the TIF. But what they've done to try and mitigate some of the future property tax impacts is they're going to increase the supplemental deduction from its current level in 2025 of 37%. There's actually 37.5%, and increase that over time. By the year 2031, it's actually 66.7%. So just some quick math on that. If you have a $300,000 home, by the year 2031, it will only be assessed on 1/3 of that. There is a standard deduction that's in place now that started off at $48,000, and it is actually declining each year and will be zero by the year 2031. But when you get, because the supplemental's going up so much, that will have a pretty substantial impact on the assessed valuation. There's also a new deduction for what are considered the 2% caps for residential, or excuse me, for apartments, long-term care facilities, and agriculture. Now, agriculture doesn't impact you too much, but the apartments do. And so where they have not had deductions in the past, they started this year actually in 2026 at 6%, and that will also grow to 33% deduction by the year 2031. There's a new homestead residential credit, and I believe this is really how they got it over the finish line. Governor Braun was really pushing a property tax cut, and what they came up with really kind of late in the session was a credit in that they would give the taxpayer up to 10% or a maximum of $300 credit after the taxes have been computed. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well this evening. There was also a pretty substantial change to business personal property. They originally intended for that to get implemented in 2026, but due to some assessment timing issues, that got delayed. And so where there was, where people would report personal property over $80,000, that number now goes to $2 million by the year 2027. So we're going to see really the impact of the personal property change happening in this next calendar year. There was also a change to the floor where there used to be a 30% floor. Any new equipment put in place for businesses now will no longer have that floor, so that will also impact that future assessed valuation. Now, there were changes to the farm ground. Again, that doesn't impact you too much, so we won't spend much time on that. But this is really the reason for the why, because that 37 cents that's been generous to you in the sense you've had nice growth in your assessed valuation, we're going to have the reverse effect in that we anticipate a decline in the assessed valuation. This is, let me back up just a second. The district engaged a company called Policy Analytics, which I'm actually now part of, by the way. I actually joined Policy Analytics April 1st. But they engaged Policy Analytics to do a parcel by parcel analysis of the district, in that they would take the impact of Senate Enrolled Act and apply those deductions and forecast that out through the year 2031. And what you can see is there's some historical information there for you. Now, also you have the district works off of two assessed valuations. You have the net assessed valuation that excludes TIF areas, and that is used to calculate the tax rates for your debt service fund and your operations fund. And then you have an assessed valuation for the referendum operating fund, which includes all TIF areas. And so we actually work with two assessed valuations with the district. But as you can see in 27, a pretty substantial loss estimated right now at 7.3%. And then drops back a little bit because that first year of the impact includes that business personal property did increase to $2 million. But then you can see in 2032, you kind of resume back to what would be considered trending or values going up based on property values going up. This next one's probably the most important one because that's what we're here to talk about is the referendum. And this is in billions, by the way. I forgot to put the little note on the side there. But you have a substantial amount of property in a TIF area to the tune of over $1 billion. When you look at your net assessed valuation compared to your assessed valuation, including TIF, it's about over $1 billion more in the TIF area that you actually benefit from on your referendum. But what you can see here, that same trend. Now this only goes back to 25, but you can see. Pointers. Oh, it doesn't work on that screen, does it? As you can see, that trend from 26 to 31 is going to continue to decline year over year before it then starts to recover. But even when you look out all the way to the year 2026, we still don't get back to the year 2036. We still don't get back to the year 2026. This is what it looks like in terms of dollars. In 2026, the referendum levy is generating just shy of $8.7 million. That is based on the 37 cents. And if we were to hold to our 37 cents and not raise that rate, you would see that that revenue would decline between now and the year 2031 to 7,068,000. So a pretty substantial drop. And that doesn't even account for, the cost of living going forward before it starts to head back in the other direction. So that leads us to the question, should the district raise the rate to offset the impact of Senate Enrolled Act 1? Now, I will tell you there are a lot of districts that currently have referendums in this very conversation. And I would anticipate a lot of them will be on the ballot either in 26 or in 28, asking to increase their rates to mitigate some of this loss. So like what is the right ask? And so this is similar along the lines that I talked to you about in November when I gave you just kind of a preliminary estimate at that time. What I've done is I've taken the current referendum levy 2026 and compounded it 4% a year. And that would produce a result in the year 2031 of $10,584,000. In comparison then to what the 37 cents would generate of $7,068,000, you can see the difference there is about $3.5 million. And so that's obviously the 4%, by the way, is also consistent with what the state has over the last 3 years, previous 3 years, allowed the operations fund to increase. And so that's consistent with that trend. But if you take then that $10,584,000 and divide it by the estimated AV of 2031, you can see the rate to replace the property tax impact of that to be 0.5540, a pretty substantial increase compared to the 37 cents we're at currently. The second question then is, do you want to raise the rate a little bit higher to make up for this new homestead credit that was put in the last session, which is that 10% or $300? Now, this is not a huge impact, but it does impact the operations fund if you don't. And it's in place. It's already impacting the operations fund in the year 2026. But our loss to this was zero in 2025. But the estimated loss to this credit in 2031 is about $317,000. And so if we wanted to make up for that new credit to offset the loss in the operations fund, we would need to collect 0.0166 cents. So when you look at where we are currently, the current rate of 37 cents, and obviously we haven't had the loss of the homestead credit in the past, but we'd be making a comparison of 37 cents to a total of 0.5706. And that really is to mitigate two things: the loss of assessed valuation due to Senate Enrolled Act 1 and to make up for the loss of the credit that would be felt in the operations fund. Now, that doesn't mean that we would go out and collect the 57 cents in year one. What it might look like, and this is where the board would have control of how much of the rate each year that you would want to impose at budget time. And you've always had that ability, and if you rewind back to your first referendum, you already demonstrated to the community that you actually had the authority to collect a higher rate than what you actually collected at that time, when it was 43 cents, but you only collected 37 cents. But what we'd be saying to the community this time, which is much different, is that we would not anticipate collecting the 57 cents in the year 2027. And it might not be until the year 2031 before we even get to that point. And so this would represent what that rate might look like between now and the year 2031. This assumes assumes that levy only compounding at 4% a year, which would be for the cost of living. So Speedway, I think I mentioned this last time to you when I met with you. They've actually have been doing this for quite some time. They ask their community for a much higher rate than what they actually collect. And so a lot of districts, there are a few districts that are rerunning their referendums and asking for the full amount in the first year. But I would say most of the referendums that are being run are going to have a strategy similar to this, because you're now, again, trying to establish a rate. Even though I'm only showing through the year 2031, this would be an 8-year referendum. So you're trying to figure out what things look like 8 years from now. So, but when you get past the year 2031, we'd be at the maximum rate of 0.5706, and hopefully we'd resume normal AV growth from that point, and we'd start to see levy growth in the referendum fund again. Right now, we'd be experiencing a decline year over year. So I created an example just so you can see tax. This is only the referendum portion of a tax bill, okay? So this is not a total tax bill. But I used the assessed valuation of $350,000. And Dr. Greiner and Mrs. Roth and I met with the county auditor a few weeks ago. There has been a change in the law as it relates to the question. The county auditor has to determine the median residence value of the district. And then you round it up to the nearest $50,000. So if that median value is $301,000, you round it up to $350,000. The auditor was kind enough that she had made some calculations before we even got on the phone call and provided us with some estimates. This is not certified, but we will be talking about asking her to certify this amount. But it is something less than $350,000, and there's actually some discretion for the auditor in determining that, what the median resident value is. But it's my understanding the DLGF is going to accept whatever the auditor certifies. But at this point, we're fairly confident that $350,000 will be used in the question. That value actually gets put into the question. And unfortunately, the question will also require us to use the maximum rate and stating the impact. And that's going to look much worse than what it will be because we will also only get to use the 2027 deductions. So all the deductions won't be in place yet until 2031. So we will have a communication, trying to communicate like, yes, this is what the question says, but that is not the intent of the district to collect all of that in the year 2027. So what I did is just to show you what the 2026 impact is of the 37 cents. You have the $350,000 home. They currently get the $48,000 deduction. They get a 40% supplemental deduction. Then you get to the net assessed valuation times the 37 cents, and the referendum impact is $670. In 2027, if this is an if the board would agree to that rate that I had forecasted of 0.4232, you've not agreed to that. This is just an example. The impact would be $708. Now, what I'd say is this is really designed to make up. We're really not, this is a little bit different than other referendums where we might be asking for more. In this case, we are not asking for more. We're asking just to replace what we would have otherwise maybe received prior to Senate Enrolled Act 1. So it is a little bit higher, but we're also trying to make up for what that credit loss is. So it would be a little bit higher. Now, Dr. Greiner asked me this, and I didn't have it in the original presentation, and I was a bit reluctant to do this, but I went ahead and did it. I thought, well, let's see what it looks like in 2031. Now, I want to put a big asterisk on 31. This really is in today's dollars, okay? It's likely that $350,000 home is going to trend up, that the values will go up. So I don't want to imply that $350,000 home is going to remain at that value. But in today's dollars, if you're comparing the impact of 26 referendum to what it might look like in 2031, you can see that the standard deduction goes away, but then you're reducing 2/3 of the assessed valuation. The actual impact is $5 less. Now, that home value will trend up likely. Well, maybe not. Maybe you get a bad economy and maybe property values go down. Let's hope that doesn't happen. That's always possible, but let's hope that doesn't happen. But so again, we're really trying to replace. Now, even under the old model, pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1, 37 cents, if that home value trended up, that 37 cents would collect dollars off of that. And actually, when you look at your district over the last 8 years, I went back and averaged over the last 8 years, your referendum levy actually grew between 7 and 8% on average between those 8 years. In this model, I'm only suggesting 4%, okay, that we're asking, that we're showing a 4% levy growth, which is, to reflect the cost of living. That doesn't mean you can't collect it. If the AV doesn't decline as much as we anticipate it to, or we have some big development come in, this would still give you the flexibility to collect that. But really what we're trying to do is really focus on the need of the district being 4% increase each year. So one last document, and this is another confusion point with the new referendum. If you would pull up that Word document. The district has had to adopt a revenue spending plan in the past, but now it looks a little bit different. The spending plan now, and the question, by the way, and the question that will be on the ballot, now will require what's called a maximum tax levy. That is new, and I can tell you that's actually a dangerous number, because if you set that too low, we're trying to figure out what might be out 8 years from now. We don't know that. But I can only tell you how I arrived at that number really was to say, if the levy were to compound at 8% a year, what would that levy be in the year 2000? Actually, not 2031. It'd be 3 years beyond 2031, with the 8-year referendum. So that number is a bit scary. But it is a maximum number. It doesn't mean we will be collecting that number, but it is now in the question, and it's just my opinion that the legislators put that in place because they were frustrated by the 2 years of 2023 and 24 when levies grew so much and there was no levy cap on that. And they did impose some levy cap on some schools that, depending on the timing of when they ran the referendum, you weren't, because we had just run the referendum in 23. We did not have a levy cap on ours, but there were some districts that did get some levy cap or limitations on their referendum that year. So the question's not that you're not being asked to pass this tonight. You're really, which is the next part of the agenda here, is just you're going to be asked to initiate the process. That we would begin, if you agree with the logic and the assumptions that we've used this evening, that we would begin the process of sending letters to the county auditor and begin formalizing what we've talked about, and you would not be asked to pass this referendum rate until June 8th. That's the scheduled board meeting of June 8th. So be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I know it's a lot. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of assumptions, and we're trying to forecast something 8 years out. Now, what I've tried to do is provide you the flexibility to be able to make decisions year over year, and I think that's what this does. I think this, if the community agrees with passing the 57 cents, that provides the school board the flexibility to make decisions between now and then. Now, I will also asterisk that it doesn't mean legislators won't pass something to limit it again, but what we know today, that's how this is really designed, around the 57.06 cents and the 16,000,001 as the maximum levy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you're not like to run a referendum again in 3 years from now, right? You just ran it in 23, and it's confusing. Why are we doing this again? It is all a result of one. We would not be talking about this if it being passed last year.
And just for the benefit of all, I learned in a recent webinar that in the meantime, they've been funneling millions of dollars out of the public schools and into charter, and that is not cool, Amy. Charter and private schools, and not only have they taken those dollars, they've also taken around 150,000 students. So the million students in Indiana that are in public school has remained flat for 20 years, and 150,000, which is the growth we should have seen, have been funneled into different school systems, which are taking, anyway, don't get me started. All right, everybody feels like they can go out and explain this to the community now, right? We're all experts? Great, okay. Questions? Lawrence?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So basically regarding these calculations, say for example, for property.
You want to go back to the PowerPoint?
No, just,
So this one? Okay.
just have a question for this 955 per year. For these kind of typical properties in our community, 350,000, and the tax will be increased by 900, almost $1,000.
Yeah, so that's
A little bit scary.
we have to put the worst in there. The $955 is if you were to collect the 57 cents
okay.
in 2027
Okay.
Which we won't.
versus the one I showed you earlier. If you wouldn't mind going back to
Yeah, I see that.
that,
I understand.
I would really only anticipate that you'd
Yeah.
be what I think it was $708. Keep going.
So we'll end up like
Yeah.
something like
A little bit more. Right there. So yeah, $708. So the question is going to say, do you want to impose 57.06 cents on the tax rate? It's going to, the median value is 350,000. That's an impact of $955. But I don't anticipate you're going to do $955. I anticipate you'd probably do something less than that, and that's where I assume the 0.4232, which the impact is $700. The real impact is $708 compared to what they're paying now, the $670.
okay. So another thing, the $16 million, that's also calculated based on 57.
So that's really what I did there is just really take the $8.7 million that we're collecting now
Okay.
and compounded it by 8% a year. That's a little higher than what you've seen in the last 8 years. But again, it's a maximum number. It's kind of like the budget process we use when we go and advertise our budgets. We advertise them high and we say, these are all going to come down when the real numbers come in. And this is an important point in that by August 1 each year, the auditor is to certify the net assessed valuation. So before you get to your budget time, we will know the net assessed valuation, and the administration will be able to bring you a recommended rate. And we will be able to pinpoint exactly what that levy would be in 2027. And that will be ahead of your referendum question. I would actually encourage the board to pass a resolution to that effect. We will pass the budget, we will pass a rate less than what is on the ballot, and we pass a resolution that says we're not going to collect more than this in 2027. I think that would help with the messaging in November, saying this is a different model than what we've had to operate in the past, where we've always adopted the maximum rate and we've collected the maximum level, or the maximum allowable to us off that referendum rate. This will be a little bit different strategy. We'll be bringing a recommended rate to you and a recommended levy. But in particular, in that first year, that we would be passed maybe a supplemental resolution. It's not required. It would be just something on the board's behalf to show the community your good faith effort, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I totally understand that's kind of a cap, but when you show up on the ballot, it's kind of a little bit scary. So technically speaking, I mean, financially, we want to have some buffers, so we want to have comfortable. But when we talk about how to get the community support our referendums, do you think that number can be adjustable, or that's kind of fixed numbers? So who decide that that number?
Yeah, ultimately the board's going to decide what you need to decide sometime in the near future what that maximum rate should be. You could set that maximum rate higher or lower. You could say, well, I don't want to collect that credit. You could take that off. But how I built this model was just to show you, if you were trying to make yourself whole, this is my best estimate of how you would do that.
Yeah, another question regarding so basically all these things because of the legislation change. So I mean, I heard the people always want to change that again. So from your point of view, and you also have many years, several decades regarding this, this Indiana. Yeah. Do you think there will be some significant change in next schools? I mean, 1, 2, 3.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
You know, election results change things. I'm not saying it will, but I kind of view the system that we put in place right now. I kind of call it wading into the water. And what I mean by that, they didn't put all these deductions in all at once. They put them in over time. Representative Thompson, I believe, intentionally did that so that we can kind of see how this plays out. Maybe we don't get to year 2031 and maybe we don't have all these deductions in place. And maybe it looks something different than what we know. I think in your case, you're better positioned to weather this change than many. You know, there are going to be some districts that wrestle with circuit breaker and tax rates and all kinds of problems hitting the caps sooner than others. And so from that standpoint, I feel like the property tax system's kind of set in place and they're going to see how this plays out for a few years before they start tinkering with it. But I can't guarantee that. You know, that's this next long session. Hopefully it was not as wild. Hopefully it's not going to be as wild as the previous session. This last short session, I would say we actually came out of it okay. There were a lot of conversations about local option income tax. Indirectly impacts you on some property tax replacement dollars, but not directly in that you don't receive what's called gadget dollars. So there's still going to be more conversation, I believe, around local option income tax. But property tax, my gut says that I feel like they've set something in motion. Representative Thompson wants to see that kind of play out, but time will tell with that.
Hopefully this last question regarding your proposal trying to set the rate every year kind of gradually so we can compensate the change of assessed values. So from your experience, what other district, in practice, how they do this? In the budgeting cycles, the board just reset every year, or what's the?
Every budget cycle.
So that's the norm,
Yeah.
kind of norm.
Every budget cycle, the administration would bring you a recommendation on what they believe the rate would need to be in order to meet the financial needs of the district. It might be higher, it might be lower. And so we might see, maybe we won't see as big a decrease in the TIF. I know there's still a lot of stuff going on in TIF. It may not decrease as much and you may want to collect it. You may want to say, hey, we don't want to give up that additional revenue that's being built down there. So that 33% is working against you on those apartments, though. You know, so you're getting growth coming in there, but you're getting the 33% new deduction going, you're mitigating some of the new assessment dollars you would otherwise come.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, I'm just finished. Yeah, thank you for your answering my question. But I mean, my feelings, I spend hours try to understand these things. It will be quite difficult to explain that to the communities. How, see, like you spend, I mean,
Yeah.
quite complicated. Yeah, so that's, but I really appreciate, thank you for you bringing the information here.
Where we gotta get the community and the trust with that resolution at budget time. I think that's where our first step is to show them the trust, is that we will not collect this rate in year one. And we would do that before they actually vote it on.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to David, then Rachel, then Yue. Okay.
I have two, maybe three questions, depends on how that shakes out. I'm gonna start with sort of what I think might be the easier question. Given that there are likely 100+ school districts in the state running referenda this year, do you expect that there are gonna be concerted efforts from outside groups to fight against passing referenda?
Well,
And if yes,
Yeah.
are any recommendations on how we can prevent that from impacting us?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be 100. There are probably 50 in active conversations, maybe a little more than that. I don't know how many of them will actually end up on the ballot, because to be honest, there's some of them are not as far along as you are. We've been talking about this since last budget cycle, and we talked about it in November. We've been talking about this. There are some that have not had enough conversation about it, and they might just wait until 2028 to do that. But there will be a number of them on the ballot. And now a little bit different about this referendum than other referendums. We're always running referendums for the most part, when they're going to expire, they would go away. Your old referendum does not go away, 37 cents. So if you were unsuccessful, I think your community will support your school. I think, you know, you've had a track record of support for your referendum, but you're not losing all the way to zero. You're still going to go to 37 cents. Now, I would say you would probably you'd have to set things in motion to start reducing expenses, right? So that's, if you were unsuccessful, you would probably then start to say, all right, what's our plan to offset what we are not going to get from our referendum levy? Now, you would have, this is new as well, you can only run a referendum in a general election now. And so that's even years, 26, 28, 30. So, so you would have another shot if people were unsuccessful. Now, there is also, this doesn't impact you too much, but in 2028, referendum ran after that point and beyond, we'll have to share some of their dollars of the referendum with charter schools. That's not true with the 26 referendums yet. Now, that's not impacting you at this point, but that is a risk for some districts that might wait, that they would have to run even a higher referendum to supplement some of the charter schools. That's not in play for you right now.
On that note, so I'll just ask one quick thing about that. In 28 and beyond, they have to share referendum revenue with charter schools. Is that by county, or is that going into a general fund that gets split between all the charter schools?
You would share a portion of your referendum levy with the charter schools in your district.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, not statewide, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I was wondering where that money was going.
So you didn't actually answer the question of, do you think that there'll be a concerted effort, given that there are going to be a lot of schools, is there likelihood that there'll be a concerted effort from outside groups to try to push against referenda?
I can't answer that because
Okay.
I just don't know.
Okay.
I don't think there will be.
Okay.
I think in your community, I think you have a support base that will support your district and understand it. I mean, I think there'll be some that are frustrated with property taxes, they might be frustrated with their school about something else. I've seen referendums that, I don't like your grading system. It could be frustrated with some other topic and get caught up in referendums. I've experienced that myself with the previous district. So you get other topics sometimes holding you hostage to referendums.
Okay. My other question, you'd referenced 2031 as kind of that big year. And you had calculated 4% increase based off of what we're getting this year to generate a $3.5 million gap between what we should expect versus what we'll get likely with this without running the referendum. But if you look at 2032 and 33 and 34, we then lose the 3.7 million, 4 million, and 4.2 million in those years. So because 4% comes out to a higher number when you're multiplying 4% by a bigger number. And so we actually continue to lose even more money over what would be years 6, 7, and 8 of this referendum if we don't pass it. And then if just looking at those first 5 years, I appreciate the 3.5 million number, but that's just the 1 year. It's 10.9 million that we would lose as a district over 5 based off compared to what we should expect. And then compared to what we should expect over 8 years, that's nearly 23 million that our district would lose in school revenue cumulatively. And I think that's an important number to get across because 3.5 million in 1 year is a lot, but the amount that it hits us time and time again, I think that's a huge number that I think should be part of our education campaign to the community.
Yeah, we could calculate that fairly easily, what the difference would be between now and then. Now, I do want to stop. The reason I only went through 2031 is because that's when everything stabilizes in terms of the deductions. And had we had the old referendum, 37 cents, it goes back to really that model. You have the 57.076 cents, and you live off of whatever growth comes in. So you you're really using the same approach that we've lived by since 2010 at that point.
Right, but if we're in 2031, if we're basically using what would be the cap of our number, we're not going to be increasing. We can't increase beyond that for those next few years where the gap is going to be even bigger.
But you won't lose the 57 cents. You'll be able to continue to collect that, and you should have positive trending in your AB at that point.
Right, but it won't be as positive as what we would have expected had we stayed in the current model. If we stayed in the current model, in 2032, we'd be getting 11 million, 2033, 11.5, and then 2034, it would be 12 million.
Yeah, right.
So,
that's a good point. If I took 4% a year and compounded it out for 8 years, it's about $12 million. Compounded it out at 8% to get to the 16.1 million. So you have the flexibility to collect it if the assessed valuation comes from. So I really didn't view the years 2032, 33, and 34 as lost years, because that really, if the AB grows, it gets back into a pattern of growth, you should see new dollars coming off that 57 cents.
Yeah.
So, but cumulatively, that's correct. I mean, if you look at the dollars over time, when we're balancing a budget, though, we're trying to balance fixed costs with the revenue, anticipated revenue. And so that's why we're always looking at the annual revenue when we're building that budget. But cumulatively, it's a lot of money if we don't do something.
right, and I think that's part of the education campaign.
Yeah.
Do you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just going to point out that he's also looking at the potential development in the TIF district too. So that's another component to that high number. It doesn't mean that we're collecting more from a homeowner necessarily. You're looking at everything, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right, Rachel's turn.
Do you feel comfortable that 350,000 is a median home value?
Conversation that median value is actually lower than that right now, and so even if she maybe takes a little different view at what median residence is. Policy Analytics in their report had something less than $350,000 too. So I feel like we're in the safe range that the assumption of 350,000 is a good assumption. And how we'll know that officially is when if you agree this evening to kick off the process, we have a letter prepared to go to the auditor tomorrow requesting the certification of that.
Okay.
And you will know that for sure, hopefully, before you have to act on June 8th. I think you will, because she's already taken the effort to calculate some of these things for us.
I think it's important that our community understand as part of that kind of heavy lift of education is practically what those cuts would mean. Because our leadership have already been very conscientious in reducing and leaning things down as much as they can, particularly on hiring. If we do get into trouble, it's going to be a big impact trouble. There's not much left to cut.
Right. You're really, a big part of the school budget is personnel.
Yes. And I think,
You can trim, but you eventually get into personnel.
yeah, I don't think that we're far off of personnel at this point. That's my opinion, but I'd be interested in understanding that a little bit better as we get into the process of what that looks like to our teachers, our staff. My last question is, this is, it is a heavy lift, education in our community, and our community has shown really phenomenal support over the years, which is wonderful. And in general, I think comparison is a path straight to hell, but what does it look like compared to other schools in the state? Because there will be people who say, why does it cost this to educate a child in West Lafayette and this to educate a child in some other county?
Right. I would say, the rate varies some because depending on the assessed valuation, and the assessed valuation plays so much into the individual referendum rates in a community. But I would say what I'm seeing in other districts, what your rate is going up or being proposed to go up is very similar to that in other communities that I'm seeing. I don't want to mention them by name.
Right, no, I'm not asking you to, I just kind of want to know.
Seeing that's a pretty large increase, 37 cents, 57 cents. That's
Right.
a pretty big jump. But I'm seeing similar trends like that on
I think that 955 number is the number that's going to stick out on the questions. And that for some families, that's a lot.
It is, it sure is. Again, unfortunately, we don't get to decide that.
Right.
We have to put the maximum rate in with they're going to use the 2026 assessed valuation of the home, but they're going to use the 2027 deductions. And then they're going to apply the maximum rate. So the auditor knows that too. She has to certify that. She has to certify that impact. So those are just my estimates right now. So it may be a little different, but that's what I anticipate.
Thank you.
UA, your turn.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the information. And I found the page for the comparison is very helpful because one misconception I noticed is that people feel, oh, with this new referendum, my tax will increase for the referendum. But the comparison says otherwise, right? So I wonder whether it's possible to create a sample for some other home values as well. It's possible at all?
That's a good question. Policy analysis is a calculator that people can put values into and see what that impact might be for them. And we could even go to the extent of plugging in what we anticipate our referendum rates to be over that period of time so that they're getting the right results from that. So I don't think we're ready for the calculator yet, but it is in the wings, and we'll have to fine tune some of those assumptions in that calculator, but we should be able to put that out for people to run their own impact.
Can I add a quick thing? It might be important for us to make sure people know that Zillow numbers are not what their actual assessed rates are. They're much higher. So I mean, if there is an education campaign, I think something like that could be helpful too.
Yeah, they should get the assessed valuation from it. But they should be getting a notice of it every year, make sure they're using what's included in the notice. And I just got mine personally this last week. I don't know if they sent them out here. Yeah, see that, so that's part of the problem too, right? So I'm showing you in today's dollars, 350,000, but if people's home values, now, I hope that my home value would be increasing. I want my home value to increase, but you know, that can impact, and that's going to impact the tax bill. But that would have happened under the 37 cents. The district would have benefited. So that's not new in that sense.
Okay, everybody else set? Thank you.
Just,
Oh,
may I
I'm
just
sorry,
ask
I'm
a
so
very,
sorry.
Very quick question. And you mentioned that people may be against it for various reasons, like grading or bus or whatever. And do you think it might be a good idea to ask residents if they don't support it, why so? Because currently we are conducting a community survey. I wonder whether that kind of question will be a good one to ask.
They kind of, in the questionnaire, they kind of play the tolerance there. But yeah, it's hard to put that into a questionnaire because everybody's gonna fit into it somewhere different, depending on the assessed valuation of their home. So, Dave, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I don't know that we have, in the questionnaire, is there anything that, I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, I don't have that with me.
I don't think to the fine tuning the document.
We're gonna get a sense from that survey how the community feels about the school. That's important. That would show support for your district.
Yes, I noticed that, but just I didn't see the question about why, if people say it's unlikely I'll support it, and whether they will be asked for the reason. I just wonder about common practice.
Just my personal experience with referendums I was involved in, there are sometimes people just, they need it, because of their personal situation in their life, they need a tax break, right? They'll just say, I want to go to school, but I just can't. But, I just think in general, though, your parents are supportive. But you are talking about the two most personal things in a person's life: their kids and their money.
Yeah.
And the referendums are very sensitive. They're worse than in my opinion, they're worse than a political campaign, because you're talking about the two most sensitive things.
Yep, absolutely. I'm so grateful that you understand all of this so that we can try to. And I appreciate your time so much. And if everybody else is all set, I think we're good. So thank you, sir.
I'll stick around until
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Reuter. We appreciate you.
my pleasure.
Okay, little stretch. Anybody need a? Okay. Next item is number 9, the resolution authorizing the administration regarding the auditor certification. Dr. Greiner.
And this is the item that, following that Mr. Reuter was just talking about. Tonight, we ask the board to vote to approve the resolution authorizing administration regarding auditor certification so that the district may proceed with the required next steps and timelines associated with the proposed operating referendum process.
Hey, I need a motion, please. George. George moves to pass, and that was Rachel. Seconding. Any discussion? Okay, I will go ahead, and I've started the buttons, and here we go. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is back to you, Dr. Greiner, for special education and Medicaid billing.
And we have Mrs. Quaglio in the audience. This is actually her item. The administration recommends that the board vote to approve the agreement with the PCG Indiana Incorporated for special education Medicaid billing services for the July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027 term as presented.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
Like how motion to
Lawrence, okay.
pass this.
Is there a second? Rachel, thank you. Okay, it sounds like George has some discussion.
Yeah, just wanted to get a clarification on the contract. If the contract is good and valid and approved by our attorneys, we're going to get it in time before the changeover where we can no longer have indemnification clauses in public school contracts, but is that something we want to include in this, or should we go ahead and get ahead of the eight ball, so to speak?
We've run all this through our attorney, and our attorney proposes that we go with the way the contract currently is.
Any other discussion? Great, hearing none, I will push a bunch of buttons. There we go. Excellent, that passes 7-0 also. The next item is the West Side and Purdue Department of Speech Language Hearing Sciences Memorandum. One more time.
The administration recommends that the board vote to approve the independent contract services agreement between West Lafayette Community School Corporation and Purdue University's Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences for speech language pathology services for August 1st, 2026 through May 30th, 2027, term as presented.
Okay, do I have a motion, please? Lawrence, thank you. Second? Rachel, thank you. Any discussion? Lawrence, go ahead.
Oh, short clarifications. When I look at this contract, basically my understanding is either party can cancel the contract with 30 days notification or something like that. So my understanding, our special education is kind of mandatory. So in that case, do we have a continuities appliance, something like that? That makes sense?
Would you repeat the second part? Do we have,
Yeah, in case that happened, do we have continuities appliance or backup?
like, would we have a plan to address that? We do not. This is an agreement we had last year.
Okay.
And it was through Glass at that time. And so now we're just taking it on because Glass is dissolving. However, what it could mean is that we would look at maybe hiring another speech pathologist, posting and hiring. This is just a great agreement because it allows us not only to work with Purdue for speech services in addition to our current speech pathologist, but it also then allows us to have student teachers in, or student speech pathologists in. Clinicians, thank you. Yeah, not student teachers, clinicians. But so it's a great relationship that works well for all parties and certainly our students. I would suspect it would be posting another position if we didn't have this agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You
May I ask another question? So when we had the service with Glass, so this resource was shared with the whole Glass, right? But right now it will be only for ours.
This is something, I'm going to look at her to make sure I say this correctly, but this is something that Mrs. Quaglio came to us last year, and Glass was still intact, of course. And it was a vision she had to have this great relationship with Purdue, where students, Purdue, and West Lafayette benefits. It was West Lafayette's services, either mainly or completely, correct? Yes, so it's something we already have in place. It's just that because Glass was in place, the contract was held at Glass level. And now that that'll dissolve, it'll be under West Lafayette's title.
So it's a continuity of the previous service.
Correct.
Okay, it's not the new one because of the dissolve.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good idea that we eventually have our own. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, in that case, I will go ahead and start the vote to approve. There we go, 7-0.
Thank you.
And next item is, I find that roofs are always poorly timed. Mrs. Roth, let's talk about the roof.
Absolutely. As shared in the board packet, the bidding process for the junior-senior high roof is complete. Windward Roofing and Construction was identified as the lowest and most responsive bidder to complete the roofing projects this summer for the junior-senior high school at a cost of $1,119,947. And this is for the two base bids and the alternates. Work is scheduled for a June 1st start with a September 30th date for substantial completion, and August 31st is the closeout date. Please approve the base roof bid areas as well as accept all alternates from Windward Roofing and Construction as recommended.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I can have a motion.
Thank
to
you,
approve
Lawrence.
the roof.
A second? Thank you, Rachel. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick clarification questions. So basically, the bid winner, Windward Roofing. So my understanding, this company is based in Chicago, Illinois. So do they have any project? They have done business. Oh, yeah.
So this is, we did actually are graced with the presence of Mr. Michael Regenovich and Mr. Andy Matura, Project Manager and Construction Administrator at Fanning Howie, and they can answer hopefully any questions we might have.
Yes, I'm just look at the contract. First of all, thank you for you guys participate, and that's really, I look at the document, it's really nice. We have pretty good bidding process, and you guys join us. But the only question, when I look at that, you guys are kind of basically based in Chicago, Illinois. So you have some project in Indiana, because there may be different coding things, everything.
Yeah, so they have worked in Indiana. They are finalizing all of their local licensing, local permits. But we have confidence that they're gonna do a good job here. We met with them last Thursday to go over all of the pre-award items that we typically do. And yes.
Okay, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys.
Rachel and then George, please.
I'm just interested with the timeline, what the disruption to this school is going to be, if any. Roofs are, in addition to being poorly timed, generally speaking, also loud.
So we discussed this at length in our call last week, and both them and us, we're gonna do everything we can to do as much work as we can over the summer in terms of expediting all of our shop drawing submittals and reviews of all of those types of things. Because as I'm sure you guys are aware, the actual start date of construction is not changing, but the procurement times get pushed back 1 month. So we're dealing with that, but the contractor is willing to work with you guys to do as much as they can over the summer. And then once the school year starts and students are back in, they're gonna be hopefully done with that entire bus corridor and only be moving material from that back service entrance. Obviously, anything that would be happening overhead would only be happening when students were not present.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And George?
Yeah, did you say that they're working on getting their local licenses now?
They just need to submit their bond.
Okay,
They talk to the municipality.
because the website says you already have them. That's why.
Oh, wonderful. So they did that. That was
No,
my-
so that's what I'm wondering. So did they say that before they had them, or did they have them already and just hadn't finished the process? Just want to make sure we're not doing anything strange.
Yeah, so as of last Friday, the contractor had told me that the local municipality was waiting on their bond paperwork, and as soon as they had that, they would be released for their local license.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Super. Thank you very much. All right. In that case, I will go ahead and start the vote to approve the roof. Thank you. 7-0. Okay. The next item on the agenda is number 13, student handbooks. And we're back to you, Mrs. Roth.
Information from each principal was shared in the board packet for review. All 3 handbooks have one common updated student code of conduct section that was reviewed by legal counsel and recommended to reflect changes in law and policy. Beyond that, the junior-senior handbook has updated its attendance policy, and then in the intermediate and the elementary have only made conforming changes. You are asked to approve these handbooks as requested by each school.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion, please? Thank you, George. Second?
I can second.
Okay, David, I'm gonna, just to mix it up a little.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Stop. In the junior senior high school attendance policy, There's just a couple of the odd red highlights, and I'm wondering if the wrong word was highlighted. Eric, can you pull that up if you can?
On the second page or the third?
It's in the Skyward Codes, attendance code section.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the attendance policy in the Skyward attendance code section. Just a little bit confusing to read. In the attendance codes, the word "and" is highlighted in red instead of "does" or "does not." Is that intentional? This is in the separate, I'm sure it's in both, but it's in the separate attendance policy document for the junior, senior high school in the section called Skyward Codes. The pages aren't numbered. In the PDF, it's page 8.
As an absence, I believe that would have been highlighted because it was a change, not because that's going to be in the final
Okay.
copy as it, just to clarify the wording. The red or the highlight? The red, an absence does not count as an absence, and the "an" is highlighted. Yeah.
To me, it looks like all the red is the additions, so it was just grammatically
Yeah, it was just
updated to
added.
be correct.
Okay, because the way it reads with the "ands" by themselves, I thought they were emphasizing something.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
Most of the attendance right in there is just updating either some grammatical errors that we had or some clarifications that we kind of discovered as we were dealing with families this year.
Okay.
Just want to make sure I'm reading it right. Thank you.
Anything else, Daisha?
I have a couple questions. The first one is, I noticed at the elementary school, it said that there'll no longer be a crossing guard at LaGrange. What kind of contributed to that decision, and how does that decision get made, and why? Oh, okay. I know it's been there forever, but
Guards are typically employed by the city,
yes.
and so my guess would be that paid through the city, but I wouldn't
Okay.
state that without.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, the next one would apply to all of them. It's under the Student Code of Conduct, the section that says right to appeal. Currently, it says that the Board of School of Trustees has voted not to hear any expulsion appeals. Could we add a sentence after that, that families may pursue any remedies available under state or federal law? It feels like to me, we're kind of misleading families in, if you have an issue with this, you're just not allowed to appeal. And I feel like if we can add a sentence on to let families know there are other options out there, that it kind of, to me, is a little bit more family friendly and just more letting them know there are options, not that it stops there. Is that just something that, like, right now is that something that'd be more appropriate to have all the administrators say that they agree with, and then we come back later and add this, or what's a good process? Or does anyone else have concerns, or what are thoughts on dealing with that situation?
From administrative perspective, we don't have concern, but we don't have concern either way with what you're asking. So if the board wanted to discuss that, our recommendation after working with legal counsel is what we have. But as you're aware through our discussion, legal counsel and what you're suggesting, it's okay too. So if the board wants to discuss that, we are very comfortable with the way it currently is presented, but we also understand if the board wants to discuss that and you have a collective view on what you would like it to look like. Is that fair?
So in
So
order,
then we would just, once the board talked about it, or right now I could make a motion to add it and then do it. Okay, so I would like to motion to add in the code of conduct under right to appeal an additional sentence that says families may pursue any remedies available under state or federal law.
families may pursue any remedies
Available under state or federal law.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there discussion? UA?
And that's what the legal counsel suggested, so I think it should be safe to say that. And I also agree with Daisha, and they make it more friendly rather than, oh, board will not listen to you. So that's, yeah, I think it's helpful to say it this way. That's exactly the wording they provided.
Okay. George, you got your microphone on. Is that because
Oh,
you
no,
want to say words?
no, there was one other thing I wanted to ask about in the
Oh.
high school policy.
Hold on, we'll come
I'll
back.
get to that.
Any other discussion about this particular sentence before we vote on it? No? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will double check. So Daisha's proposal, that sentence, that language, the legal counsel already reviewed that. Is that okay?
Yes, so to clarify, legal counsel suggested what is currently before your packet. And then Mrs. Mumford asked, could we look at some verbiage that could address her concern? So we shared that with legal counsel, and legal counsel is comfortable with what
Okay.
Mrs.
I
Mumford
just confirmed.
is suggesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, super. This is to approve that. There we go. Okay. I need to write that down. Okay, so now we'll return to the previous motion, which is to approve the student handbooks as amended. George?
Just making sure I don't have a reading comprehension problem tonight. I saw in one of the other schools' policies that there was a provision about searching lockers. I didn't see it in the high school policy. Is it there?
They don't use them. I can't get my kid to not carry all his crap with him all the time.
Don't have to be in there and look. This would be covered in the same thing.
They said the code of conduct is the same across the three schools, but in the high school policy or code of conduct document, I didn't see it. I think I found it in either the intermediate school document.
Yeah, it was an intermediate.
Where are they? I'm just curious where they have it.
I'm looking.
These desks.
Oh, it's out of Indiana code, I bet. It says, Indiana statutes authorize and regulate student locker/desk searches in the public schools. So I would assume that it was just left in there because that's what the law says, so.
It's something, it's not in there. Yeah.
We should, just because parents are going to look to that first instead of looking to state law.
That's fine. I'm wondering where my mind is going is like the personal items like backpacks and all those kinds of things, which we are entitled to do as well. So the lockers actually are ours versus the backpack. So I'm just wondering if it's in there, but yeah, I can add that for sure.
What would the search term be for that? Would it be
Search backpacks. see if we can find it.
backpack, maybe? Yeah, that's not being found.
Search for the principal, the word principal.
That's gonna show.
Principal is authorized.
Oh, there are 57
Yeah.
instances of.
I searched
principal.
backpack, it's not in there.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I guess I'm more interested in the process, the development process of this. At what point did teachers become engaged in seeing it, weighing in, giving feedback? Or is it, hey, this is passed and here's your set of rules to work with? Like, what's your process for teacher feedback on these?
So that's a good question. So right now, most of it is just really minor changes, so it's already kind of been there. If we get into major ones, and like, for example, the assistant principals just sent out a survey about discipline and attendance, just some of the changes we've had. So we'll collect that kind of input. And then if we needed more steering, we would investigate further on that. But as far as the minor changes, no, we don't.
The one that comes to mind for me is like the changes with cell phone. There's been a whole lot of conversation about that. And so I feel like teachers probably have the clearest view of what that looks like in their classroom. And so I'm just curious how that plays out.
We don't have that yet, so we're still waiting for guidance from the state as to what is defined, how they are wanting that law implemented.
Okay.
And then from there, we will share what we feel like is the correct way to do it in our building, and then I'm sure that we would solicit input from some teacher leaders at that point in time. So, a very good point.
Well, it is, you do have, I mean, there is a statement about them not being used in the classroom unless teacher's permission.
So that was already kind of there.
That was the previous,
Yes,
any change
yes.
that's going to come through isn't added.
Correct. So now with the new law, it's more strict, and we're trying to navigate what those changes are going to be looking like for us.
Okay.
So that will be updated for sure.
And so that'll come out just like as a separate, I'm assuming you have to get these to be printed, so you're dealing with,
Right. So we
right?
put like a placeholder in for that. And
Okay.
we're going to basically, it said follow the law. My memory serves me. But yes, kind of the way we had to do attendance a year ago when we knew attendance guidance was changing, but we didn't know exactly what, so we had to put that in, and then we'll send that out. So that the printed documents will be what you see. The live document we can change online.
Okay,
So it's kind of a nice thing about that.
thank you.
I have a question on the makeup work for absences. So I maybe missed it. It looked like at the elementary school and the high school, it gives them 1 day.
Okay.
I haven't heard or experienced much concern with the elementary school because I don't think we have a high homework issue. The question that I have is, and I appreciate that it says that the teachers, that they can be flexible. The concern is not all teachers are flexible, and there are situations for various reasons. I mean, there's field trips, sick, where a student doesn't have any time to work on any sort of homework that full day they're absent. To give them 1 day with the level of homework students have normally, plus jobs or extracurriculars, to me is limiting our students. It's affecting their grades. It's affecting frequently some students to feel very overwhelmed, like, I don't even know how to do this all. And so they're not turning in those assignments. And so I wondered, can we make it a little bit more flexible? Even 2 days to me would be a big difference, because I have known at times where, like, the day they came back, they then had a extracurricular activity. They didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night. They have that days of homework, and it's like they're supposed to make up the day before's. It seemed very unrealistic. And like I said, some teachers are flexible, but unfortunately other teachers just say this is the policy. And so the question is, can we change that to at least be 2 days? In my view, seems a little bit more what I'm used to seeing in other schools.
Is it really? I'm
Sounds like-
being serious. Like, I've never seen 2 days.
Yes, that was what I had experienced
Okay.
in other places, but that's
So-
not here.
So let's see if we are defining 1 and 2 the same.
Okay.
Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. So if I am absent tomorrow, my work is not due. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It's not due Wednesday. It'll be due Thursday.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So that's 1 day. And are you saying then you would say it should be due Friday?
Yes, with the mindset is, so the student's not there tomorrow, and let's imagine they're on a field trip to Chicago and don't get home till midnight, or
Okay.
they were sick and like really aren't able to do any work. So the first time that they're kind of dealing with school again is Wednesday morning. So they go to school all day Wednesday, and then they go to their job or extracurricular activity, and then they have quite a few hours of homework because they attend West Side, and there's typically a lot of homework on even a 1 day of school.
Okay.
So then it's like, and then they're supposed to make up all the homework that they missed on the other and have it turned all that in by the next morning. There's no flexibility of that day being a busy day. Let's say they're in, some of these sports are difficult because if they were absent, they can't compete that day. But there's traveling sports where they're not getting home till 10 o'clock at night, then they're expected. So I just feels like it gives them no flexibility. If that's a day that they put a lot of hours in at their job, they now are staying up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. which I know is reality from some students. And
think-
so it's
Can I
like, what
just,
about
can I
when
throw
we're
out there a differing viewpoint on this matter?
Sure.
Our students' first job is to be students. And if that means that they're not able to go to an athletic practice or an extracurricular or an external job, that's between them and their parents. In my family situation, it would say, hey, if you have been out sick and you are not feeling well and you are recovering from that, you are not going to go to track, for example. You need to take a break from that and focus on your academics. So I'm saying that's my family's viewpoint on it. I understand your family's viewpoint on it might be different, but that's why I think actually the decision belongs with the teacher. Because the teacher knows the student, they know how well the student is utilizing class work time, they know their pattern of getting work done. And when we start dictating to teachers, they must give a window of time, then they are less free to manage their classroom as they should. And different families are going to have different viewpoints on this position. So I actually think that the decision belongs with the teachers. That's my opinion.
So your point, also part of your point is that you feel like there's maybe some inconsistency. Okay,
Definitely.
Gotcha. Some rigidity, right? So it does allow, and I think you acknowledge that, it allows for flexibility, and it's saying the designated time limits. This is kind of where we start, but we do allow that. I know that we do have teachers that provide that flexibility. If you're asking, can we move it to 2, this will go back to her comment about teachers. Like, I would need the teachers' input on this one. I would not want to, I would not feel comfortable unilaterally making that call.
That's fair.
And I've only been in 4 districts. I'm trying to think, 4 districts, so it's not a wide variety, but it has been standard. You're out, you get a day to make it up. You're out 3 days, you get 3 days to make it up. That's been kind of standard where I've been. It does not mean that there aren't people that have 2, and it doesn't mean that it's not worth a conversation. So I'll just leave it there. If it's something that the board wants me to revisit, we absolutely can. This, as you mentioned, this is like a policy that's been there for a long time.
This seems like maybe something we should take offline and discuss. You discuss with the teachers and your department heads and with Dr. Greiner. And maybe, I just don't know that this is something that needs to be decided tonight when we need to get these to printing and so on. So, I mean, if we have suggestions for homework policies, I've got a couple too, but, you know, especially when things are due at midnight. Anyway, so, because they work till 11:59, you little weirdos. I see you in the front row. So, that's my daughter. So anyway, I think this may be something to have, you know, raised as an issue and to think about and to maybe implement next year. And so we can move on to voting on what's in front of us. Is that acceptable to everyone? Okay, great. Thank you, Chad. Yes, Lawrence.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is the high school, junior, senior, their lockers issue, you also want to add some language in the handbook. That's my understanding. So maybe,
Okay, yeah, I was going to return to that. I've heard a lot of words and I've heard no motions. So is there a motion regarding the words in the actual document that we should be adjusting, George?
Yeah, I will make a motion to add the locker and belonging search that's in the intermediate school code of conduct to the high school code of conduct.
From WLS Code of Conduct to WLJSHS. Okay, is there a second?
You can take out cubbies.
Yeah, and remove cubbies. Good call.
They are.
Maybe they'd use them. Okay.
So I have a discussion on this one.
Okay,
I
first
think
we need a
it's-
second. If
He-
there's no.
he
sec-
seconded.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that this is a little bit of a dangerous territory. Our job is to set policy for the corporation, not to dictate the language in the handbook.
Okay.
So I think that we're out of bounds on this one, and I would propose that we not vote on this, that if we have concerns about the handbook, that we take those back to Dr. Reiner and we say, hey, Dr. Reiner, would you work with your administrators? I know that might sound silly because we all probably can agree on locker and cubby searches among us, but the reality is it is just not ours to decide.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of weighing in on my opinion on that.
Well, we did vote just a second ago to add some language if we approve this whole thing. So should we just table the policy altogether or the table? it?
Well, we can't, I mean, we have to, they need to print the handbooks. So it's, and my thing is, look, if we want to talk about cubbies and whatever, that's fine. And Mr. Rogers probably is not going to hate us forever for making that decision. But what's to stop us as a board saying, hey, actually, we think that there should be metal detectors at the entrances of all the schools, and we make that decision, not including our administrators, that wouldn't be such a great thing to do. And so I think we're out of our power of authority here.
Okay. David first and Lawrence, please.
Why do they have to be printed in the next 30 days?
Like when the dockets, they're in the front of the dockets, the kids, no homework things, their
Okay.
planners. So
They
it's a
can't-
book, they get printed.
Okay, and that can't wait a month?
I don't know.
Won't give it time.
Okay,
Okay.
I get the concern about this potentially not being, within some people's perception of authority, but if we don't, then we run the risk of printing something that's inaccurate and we'll give people wrong information.
I'm concerned with the president. That's the bottom line. I'm concerned with the president. We work hard on policy to stay in our lane. This is out of our lane, from my opinion.
So I would say, I would consult legal, only because that stuff is actually in our purview legally to do. So there's a lot of things that are in Indiana code that we don't have specifically, and if we want that, I guess that's okay, but, again, that's kind of why it took me aback when you were asking. It's great to put it in, I think it's great to be clear, but, we are allowed, if we have a reason to believe that there's something, we are allowed by law to be able to search personal items, and like I said, the lockers are our the school's possession, if you will, so we can always search those if we want. So I guess my point would be I think there's a lot of things that's in Indiana code that we are allowed to do as administrators that may not be spelled out in a handbook, and if we need to look at doing that more.
Yeah, I'm with Mr. Rogers on this. I really appreciate, Mrs. Witt, your point, because it is important to understand the process that Mr. Rogers explained with teachers on things that involve teachers and require particularly how they impact in the classroom. So I appreciate that. What I would say here is that Mrs. Mumford, your approach to asking questions in advance allowed us to do what Mr. Rogers suggested, and that was to ask the questions. And so if we can ask questions in advance, we'll do the research for you, and we'll talk with administration. If administration thinks it's something that teachers need to discuss, they'll discuss it in addition to legal counsel. I'm with you, Mr. Rogers. You're not overly concerned. It's something you do anyway. If we want to clarify that, we could work with legal counsel if the board is comfortable with that and change that language and explain it in Friday notes. Because it's following law anyway, like Mr. Rogers said. They're going to, if they need to search a locker, they're going to search a locker and probably have.
So this is covered in our board policy C550. It's current policy that deals specifically with student search and seizure, and that includes their possessions. So we have done our job as a board in making sure that this is covered in our policy and complying with Indiana code. And that it is, yeah. And our entire direction is the superintendent shall prepare administrative guidelines to implement this policy.
So I have a compromise suggestion. How about we table your motion and allow the process to go for next year, like I said on the other, and they'll look at putting it in, and since it's not become an issue, there hasn't been any conflict regarding it, and it's already in policy, can we look at clarifying it for the following year's handbook?
Yeah, I don't mind that, but just given what we've already done tonight, my point now is that we have already voted to make a change, but now we're tabling another change. So we're not even being consistent tonight, much less going forward.
I would just say to you, though, that what you've proposed in terms of edit is less than what is in our policies. So it would be So there are standards for search and seizure, searches of storage area provided for student use, searches of students' outer clothing and items in the student's immediate possession, searches of students' inner clothing or person, use of breath test instruments, searches of student vehicles, law enforcement assistance in school searches, and disposition of seized items, as well as record keeping.
Rachel, I think.
I just feel like it's,
I'm not arguing with you about what you're saying.
right.
What I'm saying is, we have already voted to make a change tonight. So if we go forward, we're already doing what you didn't want us to do. So should we table the entire handbook to comply with what you're talking about?
But if we do that, we're not giving our students what they need when they show up in August and need a docket.
David has an idea. Go ahead, David.
The language is in the other two handbooks. We should be consistent. I think it's fine to add it. I mean, we're already voting on that language for the other schools, so I don't see a problem adding it to this. I think that's better for consistency. As long as Mr. Rogers is okay with that and agrees with the language there, I think it's fine. I mean, and it's going to be the high school students who are going to argue with you while it's not in the handbook. May have been me, like, not for locker seizures or anything like that, but I think it's fine just to add that in, since we've already made the changes. It reflects our policy. Policy does go broader than that as well, but for consistency.
Okay. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Just a quick clarification, make sure I understand, Ms. Roger. So we cannot wait for another month. Sorry to bother you.
We can wait another month, but we will not have the dockets in time. So when we say, like, in other words, I'm trying to not say, no, we can't. I mean, we can always wait if we need to, but we will not have the dockets in here at the start of school.
But starts, you mean talk about the August start of school?
Correct.
So right now is May, so if we pass
They're
this,
printing them for every
print
student
it
in the
all
country,
23.
like
oh, they
everybody
only
gets one
print
of
every
these.
once a year?
Well, not
or-
the same company, but
Right. So it just
Millions
takes a
of
long
these
time
are
for us to send them off and then get them printed and then get them back.
Oh, okay.
uh-huh.
So you prefer, we still want to get
I mean, correct. Ideally, we would like to be able to take whatever we get and then send it, so we get all those back and ready to go for all of our students.
Okay,
And then
okay,
you do the same way, right?
okay, I got you. Thank
Okay,
you,
does that
thank you.
help?
Yeah, that's the, yeah, and if that's the case, probably we'll use George's suggestion. We just update that tonight, and then next year, when we do this, probably, as what Sean said, we can, I mean, get the questions, whatever, before the meeting, and we end up better meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Daisha.
First, I was wondering, just procedural, could we move this to April in the future to cover this, so that if we have questions that come up, we're not, it is hard when we're like, we have to vote on this, like it or not, in some ways. So if we were to bring the handbook forward in April, if there was something like this, we would have a monthly way, I think would help this whole procedure run better, is the first suggestion. The second one, I'd love George to help me, because the board is asked to vote on this, which means the board has a voice in what goes in this after we've received input from administration. I would love to understand why this is something, just because I don't understand this world, why you're recommending it, since I don't know where I stand at this point.
So I'm not recommending making that change for any dire reason. I like making information available, making it consistent for everybody, because right now that information is in a handbook for students that don't even use lockers, and it's not in a handbook. I mean, this is the first thing that people are going to get when they get to school. And yes, it's in our policy, and yes, it's in state law, but those are places that most people are not going to look to first. And just like David said, students are going to be like, well, it's not in the policy. And, if we can head off that argument. I mean,
Okay, we ready to go ahead and vote on this? Okay, super. I don't know. We're voting.
We're currently voting to
We're
add
going to
this
just
language
vote a
in.
lot until we're done. No, we're voting on whether or not to include the language about locker searches pulled from the elementary school's code of conduct into the high school code of conduct, but removing the word cubbies because they don't have any, although maybe they would use them. I'm sorry? Thank you. Yes, the intermediate school. I misspoke. Okay, so we're voting to include the language about locker and belonging searches from the intermediate school code of conduct in the high school, junior high code of conduct. Sean, did you have something to say before I hit buttons?
I have something to say after you vote.
Okay, super. Ready, go. Oh, we're on the wrong screen. Okay, so that's 6-1. Shoot, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so we'll get that folded in. And then now we need to return to the previous motion, which was to approve the handbooks as a package. Is there any further discussion on handbooks in the general? Okay, let me fix. Yep, Lawrence, go ahead.
Little bit off topic maybe. So this handbook update, my understanding, we update the attendance things and also cell phone usage. There's major update. So are we going to communicate with parents, use plain English? Because this policy, when you look at that, it will take some time to understand that. So
We didn't change the attendance policy. We decided to table that and wait and look at it, right? It was,
Attendance?
what we changed. It was the expulsion that families may pursue remedies under state and local law, or federal law, sorry.
So that will be tabled.
No, that we approved, and we approved the belonging search into the high school's code of conduct. Those are the two things I wrote down anyway. Did anybody write down anything else?
Yeah. So now we kind of the full document, right?
Now we have the full document as amended.
Okay.
Right.
So that's my question is,
Including the attendance policy?
yes, that's attendance policy. That's so full documents.
That's what I mean, because we're talking
Yes,
about.
all of the documents
Yeah, that's full
i-
document.
as a, in the folder. The handbook, the attendance, the code of conduct, all of the handbook documents, I was taking
That's
them
right.
as one.
The
So we
book,
are gonna, so given the conversation that we were having about homework, we're gonna revisit the attendance policy later, because you mentioned tabling, I just wanna make sure we're on the right track.
Oh, I was tabling the discussion, not
No, I
the
don't think we
handbook.
tabled
I
that.
can't even open it, y'all. What is happening?
I don't think we table any.
That's why I'm asking, make sure.
Okay,
So
so,
we have
so,
code of conduct for each school, that's 3 documents, and 1 attendance, so 4 documents. Right?
it's the attendance, the code of conduct, the handbook, the handbook, the handbook.
Yeah, so
Five.
4 documents.
No,
Five documents.
yeah, we haven't tabled the attendance. We
Tabled the discussion,
tabled the
not the actual
discussion.
policy.
That's the memo.
Oh, you're right, that is.
So we have 4
He's
documents.
right, that is four.
Handbook for each school.
I
and
can't
then plus
open
the
it. I don't know what's
plus
happening right
attendance.
now.
I've got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's right, that first document is just the memo.
3 handbook plus 1 attendance.
Yeah.
So my question will be
We can't computer today, we're sorry.
My question to our administration is, those update, do we have plans to communicate with parents of these updates?
Well, first of all, for clarification, the attendance policy is updated and approved, correct? Okay. Secondly, we are adding the language, families may pursue any remedies available under state or federal law, correct?
Yes.
Are we adding that the locker component of the high school? I didn't realize that we were.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we are,
that
so we will
passed.
work with legal to make sure we clearly state that. So
Right.
we are adding that to them to be consistent. Okay.
But we
Yes,
still need to
we
pass
need to
them
get-
as
Yes.
corrected.
We
or
need to
amended.
get direction from Indiana Department of Education regarding cell phone policy and how that will look. And then from there will be dialogue with our administrators. We will engage in dialogue with teachers. And in the end, we will develop a consistent plan where consistency makes sense. And we will develop, if it's individualized per school based on guidance in a way that makes sense, we will develop that too. And then we will be communicating very clearly to families to make sure that we are following the new requirements as required by law related to cell phones and cell phone usage. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay. Right now, we are voting on the 3 handbooks and the other thing, right? The code of conduct, right? Okay. And nobody has any more discussion. There we go. All right. That passes. The next item is.
And I made note that we will look at April, and you're welcome. And I know that Mrs. Julian will make note too, to make sure that we're all having dialogue, to make sure that we are prepared to bring suggested changes at our April board meeting. You're welcome.
Okay. Next item is policies. Do we need to take a little break before policies and come back at 8 o'clock, or are we going to just push through it? Push through it. All right, Rachel, it's up to you. Bring it home.
So our last 2 policies, and which is pretty exciting. Last 2 policies, the first one that I would ask you to take a look at, let me get to the right page here, I'm not, box.
I'm not there either.
So we have 2 policies in tonight. The first one is H-175, questioning of students. This is a second reading policy. We came through and looked at this one. Administration worked with law enforcement, legal counsel. The policy committee recommend that the board approve the policy as presented with the red line changes, with one addition. In the last paragraph, we recommend adding responsible for determining, in consultation with the superintendent or their designee, if the reason given is a valid emergency or for protection of life and property. Really, that's just to make sure that if we're in a situation where students are being questioned, that our top of our administration is involved in it. And so that was what we had some conversation about, and that is supported by legal and administration and law enforcement.
Okay. I need a motion first, guys.
I'd like to make a motion to approve H-175 with the changes included by the policy committee.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, thank you. Discussion, George, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why are all the individual federal agencies listed? Is there one that we don't count? I'm just curious.
No, it's just the way that the policy is written. It's just language.
Okay.
It is interesting that they're all listed, but
Yeah.
especially if the National Forest Service is involved.
I wondered what circumstances, like,
Yeah.
is there a forest fire? What are we doing? Okay, Daisha.
I had a question. In paragraph 3, it says, it lists just the superintendent has to be informed, and it feels like in other places, we put superintendent or designee. Was that discussed? Does that matter? I don't even see it in all the ones.
Well, so there are 2 different things. It's law enforcement officer or DCS caseworker request to interview. And that, generally speaking, in our understanding, and I think what we talked about, would be kind of an urgent thing. They're going to come in, there's a significant problem, they're going to walk in the door. Where we added that is in the last paragraph, where we said superintendent or their designee must be involved if the student, if they want to take the student off our property. So the actual speaking to them is emergent. The decision to remove them would take a higher level of authority. That's my recall, if you and Lawrence have different recall.
Go ahead, David.
Rethinking this, if the superintendent is sick, absent, unreachable, I think it does need to say designee, so I will make a friendly amendment to my own motion to add the word, the superintendent, well, the word superintendent's there, or designee to be added into that 3rd paragraph.
Okay.
It's a friendly amendment, we don't need a second.
Lawrence, do you still second the friendly amendment? Yeah, okay, cool. Neat, okay. Thank you. That's anything else that we need to discuss on that? Okay, we're voting to approve H-175 as presented with the friendly amendment. There we go. write that down. Okay, hit us with the next one.
The next one, E250, use of artificial intelligence. The policy committee, we talked about this one at length. There were two thoughts that came out of that. One, a policy committee recommended not implementing this policy at this time. Administration is continuing to work with teachers to determine best practices. There's a lot of work to be done with this, and a policy is premature. At the present time, general policies related to plagiarism and other ethical behaviors are already covered elsewhere. Two, we would like to see this general policy put forward, including the edit in blue for vote, understanding it will likely need to evolve. So basically, we didn't have consensus in the meeting between policy committee. Option one, put it on hold. Option two, pass it, it'll need to evolve. Because we did not have consensus in policy committee, we are deferring it back to the board for discussion in this meeting.
Okay. George?
Can I make a motion to put it on hold then, so we can start practicing what we're preaching?
Sure, is there a second, or do we, yeah, is there a second? David? Okay. To table it, yeah, until,
Proper Robert's language, yeah.
Because why, I mean, sorry, I understood all that. Because why? Sorry.
because it is covered under other policies that have already been approved, and because it needs to evolve and be further investigated by administration.
Okay, so I have a question on that. Can we, I had brought it up when I brought this up last time. Can we put together a community committee to talk about AI in our schools and how to support our teachers, our students, you know, number one, from a policy perspective, but to me, the bigger perspective is the influence AI has on our teachers and students. And we are in a community that I think could be a leader in the state of how we handle AI, thanks to Purdue and a lot of professors and our teachers. And so would like to see teachers on it. I'd like to see some potentially older students, parents, and decide. It feels like to me right now, teachers are just doing the best they can with the limited time that they have. Teachers that get AI are using it and embracing it. Teachers that have no idea how to use AI are running from it and scared from it. And students are getting mixed messages. AI's good, AI's bad. You're a cheater if you use AI. And I just think that we're putting a lot on our teachers, that they're supposed to figure this out on their own. And like I said, I went to a day-long training with ISBA and was excited to hear how many school districts are doing this, where they're putting a community committee together to decide what kind of trainings do teachers need, how do we support our students, what type of policy would we need? And so I guess my question to administration is, what's the best way to do that? Is that a vote of the board, a consensus that we're interested in something like that? Is that just something you're already doing? How do we move forward on this topic?
We would want to first engage in dialogue with teachers because, like you said, it's a lot on their shoulders. And so we want to understand teacher perspective. A lot of teachers are already using it. Mrs. Roth actually is already working to develop kind of a cadre of teachers that will study that. That's futuristic. Mrs. Roth, I'll let you talk a little bit about that. I don't know that we would be in a position to necessarily do a community study as opposed to really working with educators and administrators. But I want you to speak to that if you would, Mrs. Roth, because I know you've got a vision to some degree of how you want to move forward with some leading teachers that want to kind of take the lead. And I know that IDOE has done some of that as well. But just speak from your perspective where you are interested in going since you've had some vision here.
We do know that there are teachers that are very interested in the topic. We also know that there are teachers that are less interested, more hesitant, a variety of emotions. Success in working with educators has traditionally been found with working with those who are invested and very interested to kind of lead the way, and then using that to work its way out to others in their buildings and in their schools. That way there's that clear educator voice. So that is the direction we were looking to head.
And then with that, we've worked closely with legal counsel regarding the questions about
does there need to be a policy? Should there be a policy given, the constant evolution? And the reason that they don't have a policy now is because of what Mrs. Witt had shared, that there are protections in place with other policies. And if you're not careful, given the evolution and so forth, you could be creating a policy that is out of date before you start it, if it's not very general or broad, as well as we really do want to get teacher and administrator input working together on this through the process of lead teachers, as Mrs. Roth had stated.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, at this point, you don't want to involve the community. You only want teacher input. And so maybe after that, I think that from my perspective, teachers play, their full-time job is teaching. So any of this extra stuff is really on their own time to learn how AI works. We have Purdue professors who this is their full-time job. They go to, conferences. This is what they research. And so to me, bringing them together, because they're not in the classroom in the high schools teaching, or, the different ones. And so I find real value in bringing the experts on both sides, experts on the topic who this is their full-time job studying it, know the latest research, what is, evidence-based interventions with AI, all that type of things. But then I think the teachers are some of our core, because they're in there. And so I guess the question is, would this be better once we hear from the teachers than to propose bringing in the community, or how would you?
I think the goal is to hear from teachers first about what to think of the landscape, how people are using it, how people are curious about it, what they want to know more of. And then that's when you start to say, okay, where do we draw in this expertise? There might be expertise in the room amongst teachers. If I'm a third grade teacher and I'm very interested in AI, and I would love to share that with my colleagues, creating a structure that permits the time for that, and stipends, money for that to occur for everyone involved. So that's where I think it's very important to hear first from teachers about what do I want to learn more about, and then to go out and find the expertise that can help them learn that.
And you make a good point with the Purdue partnership too, or that as a resource. It's certainly something that we're already taking advantage of, and that right now that choice of people that want to go out, like Mrs. Roth and I have attended the AI Summit both years, and it's been very helpful. And we've seen teachers that are requesting to be on to attend and have attended. And so that is an absolutely great resource right in our backyard. And so as this cadre is developed, certainly Purdue we will be engaging with Purdue, and they're very open in multiple ways, as you know, of partnering with us. So that's certainly going to be a component of it.
Perfect.
Mrs.
Is there a
Mucker.
tentative timeline at this point?
Starting over the summer.
Over the summer?
Yeah. And this is not something that you brought it up, so obviously I'm talking about it, but it's not something that's otherwise been widely released. But there will be opportunities over the summer. And I would be shocked if people were not saying, oh, so-and-so at Purdue has this knowledge. I know we have parents who are in our schools who have excellent knowledge and have spoken at some of what's gone on at Purdue. But I also know that there are educators in nearby districts that have excellent knowledge, as well as educators in our own classrooms that would be happy to share. So I think it's key to hear first from teachers about what their needs are, what their interests are, and then look for things that match that.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Just to help fellow board members and those listening, the policy that I would think applies to this that's already in place: responsible use of technology is ethical, academically honest, respectful of rights of others, and consistent with the corporation's mission. Technology should be used by students to learn and communicate in correlation with the curriculum while under a teacher or supervisor's direction. So, I mean, and it moves on. There's a whole lot of other content there. Item D then says users must respect and protect the privacy and intellectual property rights of others and the principles of their school community. And it kind of continues on, but it's an extensive policy. If you care to read it before you get to this again, it is A300, responsible use of technology and internet use.
Thanks. Okay. Before we go on, I have been told that we don't have discussion about motions to table. We just vote. So this has been an important exercise, but let's go ahead and vote yes or no on the motion to table. Yes, we table, no, we don't? Is that good? Okay, let's do that, because, yeah, we're not going to,
That's what I'm trying to discuss regarding this table or not.
well, but it's not a motion that gets debated. It's just moved, seconded, voted on.
We made another.
I messed up Robert's rules because there are so flippin' many of them, but let's go ahead and vote on whether or not to table, and then we'll use the information. I think talking during the leadership meeting with Dr. Greiner about this issue would be smart, and I will add it to the agenda. So I'm writing tabled 6-1. Okay. I don't even know what's next.
Okay, so last item on the policy section, there is one policy left in the old policy section, that is policy 5540, and I'd like to make a motion that that be rescinded at this time.
Second.
Thank you. And I'm going to hope there's no discussion on that and we can just go through it. Let me do the buttons. There we go. Okay. Neat. Okay. That one passes 7-0. All righty. Moving on to reports. Doctor, yes, sir.
I just add a quick note of
Sure.
gratitude for Rachel and Lawrence for all the work on policies
Yes,
we've done, as
all of
well
you.
as for everybody. I think that this process went over time. We figured out how to do it smoothly, and everybody contributed in ways that really helped us get to the end of policies.
Which is
For now, until the state changes things and we have to change and update things, but we're in a good place. So
Right.
thank you to both of you as well as to everybody else for your contributions. This made a smooth process that I hope if we ever have to do anything like this again, that we can model after this process.
Thank you. Yes, that's important to say, and I appreciate you raising it.
And adding to all of our administrators who have
Yeah.
been part of this process, reviewing and reading multiple versions, checking with legal and all that. We really, meeting at 7:30 in the morning, second cup of coffee. We really appreciate that. And Roberta for making those cups of coffee for us.
Yeah. And with,
Roberta, you're a rock star.
We really did
Thank
get
you.
into a groove there. at
we
the end
did,
of it, yeah.
and with that, the ad hoc policy committee is disbanded.
Is no more. Do I have to
We're
wave a
ad
wand?
hocing no more.
We're ad hocing no more. Okay, so having heard that, and I do very much appreciate all your work, it has been the practice of the board for a long time to have a standing policy committee, which would review things as they come from church, or previously from Neola, with the superintendent and prepare those for the board. And if anyone is interested in serving on that, I think it should be 3 people, just for the sake of unity. And so please email me with your interest, and we'll figure that out as we go forward. Hopefully, we'll have a month or so break. Dr. Greiner, would you like to give your report?
I would like to do that, and I have several items, but I will try and go rather quickly for your sake. The first one's focusing on the Canvas issue. As you're aware, recent reports identified a data breach involving Canvas, which is utilized at West Lafayette Junior Senior High School as its learning management system. Based on the information currently available, we are learning that we do not believe West Lafayette School Corporation was impacted by this incident. However, out of abundance of caution, the district has taken precautionary measures, including temporarily disabling data connections between Canvas and our student information system while additional review occurs. We've also notified our cyber insurance carrier and are coordinating with them regarding recommended next steps and communication protocols. At this time, we are continuing to monitor updates related to the breach. If it is determined that district data was involved in any way, communication will be provided promptly to the affected families and staff with guided next steps. The lottery process was completed at the end of April per board policy. Thank you for the policy to our board. There were 35 priority students per the deadline that were part of the lottery. The 24 spots were filled and 11 students were waitlisted, given the limited number of spots available. The spots were filled by 10 kindergarten students, 3 first grade students, 4 second grade students, 2 third grade students, 2 fourth grade students, 1 fifth grade student, and 2 sixth grade students. Beyond The priority students, we also have 22 students waitlisted that did not submit applications by the priority deadline. So 40 or 22, 30, 33 students at this time. Beginning May 14th, the district's community phone survey process will begin, and it is expected to take approximately 5 to 10 days to complete. Calls will appear from Morris Leatherman Company with either a 651 or a 507 area code. As the board is aware, on June 3rd at 5 p.m., the results of the survey will be presented to the board during a scheduled work session. The last day of school is May 20th. Hard to believe that it's a week and a half away, less than that as of tonight. And graduation is May 22nd at 7 p.m. We are grateful for our teachers, our students, and our parents who work together in this amazing school district throughout each year to make the learning the quality experience for all who are part of our learning community. As our seniors prepare to walk across the stage on Friday, May 22nd, let's wish them much success in the next phase of their lives, and may they always know that our school community is here cheering them on wherever the next phase takes them.
Thank
That
you.
concludes my report, and we'll turn it over to Mrs. Roth to conclude.
Certainly. Claims for the period of April 9th through May 4th, 2026 total $2,882,142.82. This amount includes both information and claims for the corporation and the Wabash Valley Education Center, their expenses. Salaries and benefits for the period totaled $1,746,064.60. And then a final fund report was included in your board packets for the month of March 2026. Also, total funds on hand amounted to $27,800,894.25, and the education fund balance rests at $8,321,263.02. And you've got the preliminary fund report for April in the board packet, but as normal, it has not been completely reconciled and completed yet.
And that concludes the superintendent's report. Of course, we'd entertain questions if there are questions.
Lawrence, go ahead.
I didn't catch that. So you say the phone survey will start on May 14th?
Yes, May 14th.
You say 4 to 6 days will be finished?
5 to 10 days, correct.
10 days.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then they'll be reporting that out during our board work session that we have scheduled.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to start and we'll go that way just because I have a lot and I don't want to forget. The Early Childhood Education Center is hosting listening sessions or public meetings on June 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. at City Hall and on September 2nd from 6 to 8 p.m. at City Hall. This is the city listening to the community about the environmental impact, and there were several other things. I got an email, hopefully other people in the community did as well. The foundations and plumbing should be completed by now at Lemmel Park because the meeting was 4 weeks ago. And the lighting foundations on Robinson and Indian Trail have been almost completed and the poles are coming. But in exciting news from the RDC, 425 North was approved by City Council. So we're going to be getting a new road in from River Road 43. As far as school activities, Allison Walters and Joe Tylenda hosted a wonderful lunch and learn about mental health and gave a lot of fantastic resources for parents and kids. And I am told the slides are online. I've not been able to find them, but do look for them because it was excellent. I thank them for their work on mental health in our schools. The Indiana Coalition for Public Education had a webinar on Facebook that I attended extracurricularly, and it was about the referendum wave, which is coming in Indiana as a result of the things we heard tonight from Mr. Reuter. It was a very good refresher, considering we haven't done this in a couple of years, on the communication. They had people whose referendums had succeeded and people whose referendums had not succeeded, and then one school district where they had run one that failed and then another one that succeeded. So it was interesting to hear from them what worked and what didn't, and I encourage you to go to their Facebook page. Again, it's the Indiana Coalition for Public Education, to look for the video, and I also sent the slides to the board. And a reminder that the retirement reception for our retiring personnel will be June 8th in this location at 5:30 p.m., and there will be snacks. And I do think that's everything from me. So George, would you like to do your report?
Mercifully, the Indiana legislature is not in session, and the Congress only returned to session today, so there are no developments on either of those fronts. As we all know, primary elections were held on May 5th. There is still an outstanding vote, and that will potentially be resolved on May 15th when Fountain County counts their provisional ballots. If not, there may be a recount, and then there may be legislation. So the primary season is not over yet.
Thank you. Lawrence?
Yes, there's no public school foundation. There's no public foundation, Tippecanoe County's meeting, so I don't have any update for that. But I attend the last meeting with GLASS. That's the final meetings before their desalvations. There's no major business conducted, and superintendent from three school district, they joined the meeting. They offered closing remarks and also expressed interest in further collaboration opportunities. And Lisa also say it has been her honor to serve GLASS over the past 3 years. So that's pretty much all that. You want to report education?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Mark your calendars. WLCSF will host the annual scholarship program and reception on May 18th. Foundation manages 28 scholarships awarded to graduating seniors, and that totals $56,000 this year. So you should have received all an invitation to that. WLCSF will be the featured nonprofit of the night at Lafayette Aviators game on Friday, June 5th. You can visit the foundation website for more information and to purchase tickets. This summer, they are working on plans to host 1976, 1986, and 2006 for homecoming in September. Backpack program continues this summer with food being distributed every few weeks to 23 students. As experienced during the year, this is an increased number of students being served compared to previous years. And finally, WLCSF and Wendy Ayler is always wonderful about this, but she really wants to thank all of the volunteers that support the foundation. It's really phenomenal, the number of hours that people invest in the foundation and in our students.
Thank you. David?
To add on to what Rachel said about the WLCSF event at the Aviators game, first pitch will be thrown out by a West Side kid who may or may not be related to me. He is related to me, so I'll be there. It'll be a lot of fun. Parks and Rec. It's farmers market season, which is wonderful. It opened last week, every Wednesday at Cumberland. Camp is starting relatively soon because school is ending in 7 days, right? Yeah. And fun, fascinating fact, at the Lilly Nature Center, over the winter, they tapped trees for maple syrup, and they've made maple syrup. Unfortunately, because of the weather this year, they weren't able to make enough to sell, but they were able to make some that you can try at the farmer's market. So if you're interested in trying local maple syrup, go to the farmer's market. And otherwise, things are going really well, Wellness Center, or Parks and Rec wise.
I couldn't make the GLASS meeting, and Lawrence helped me. He already reported. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Keisha?
And then there was some confusion with the community council, so I don't know if Dr. Greiner has anything to share from that, or.
We mainly discussed, from our perspective, the referendum, communicated out information on that, and I want to apologize to both you and Mr. Wong for that confusion.
Okay, that's it. Great. Upcoming dates of interest are on the agenda and everything's on the website, and I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Lauren, everybody wants to adjourn. We're gonna call that Lawrence and George, and I'm gonna hit the buttons real quick. Sorry. But everybody gets to vote yes on adjourning from this warm, warm room. There we go. Thanks all. Have a good evening.